wrong with that animal? You brought a mad dog into my house to attack me?
The glass never reached Bisi's lips. Koko lunged between her knees and the table, growling so fiercely that 27 guests froze with their spoons in midair. Before Bisi could stop him, the dog struck the glass from her mother-in-law's hand. It shattered across the marble floor. "What is wrong with that animal?" Ronke screamed. Then, slap! Her palm landed across Bisi's face so hard that the young woman staggered into a chair. "You brought a mad dog into my house to attack me?" Ronke shouted. "After everything this family has done for a factory girl like you?" "Ma, Koko was warning me." "Warning you about what? Ordinary juice?" Two security men rushed forward. One grabbed Koko's collar, while the other dragged him towards the door. "Take that beast away," Ronke ordered coldly. "Before sunset, make sure it never returns." Bisi turned desperately towards her husband. Dare stood there, silent. But beneath the broken glass, the housekeeper saw something nobody else noticed. White powder, still clinging to the bottom. Do not miss what happened next, because that spilled drink was only the beginning. Tell us your city and local time in the comments. And subscribe now. This family's darkest secret is about to enter the light. For 3 full seconds, nobody moved. The dining hall of the Balogun mansion had been built to impress people before they even sat down. 12-foot windows faced the lagoon. Gold light fell across imported marble. Fresh lilies stood in crystal vases. Every place setting had a folded ivory napkin and a name card printed in raised black letters. Yet in that moment, all the money in Banana Island could not cover the ugliness in the room. Bisi touched her cheek. It was already burning. Koko twisted in the grip of the security men, not biting, not snapping, only fighting to keep his eyes on her. His nails scraped against the floor as they dragged him backwards. "Koko, stay," Bisi said, though her voice shook. "Stay, my boy." The dog obeyed, barely. Ronka Balogun stood beside the broken glass in a red ruby kaftan, one hand pressed against her chest as though she had narrowly escaped death. Her emerald head wrap rose high above her forehead. Gold bracelets trembled on her wrist. The guests had come for a private breakfast before the launch of Balogun Fresh Beverage's new pineapple and ginger drink. Distributors, board members, 2 lifestyle journalists, a senator's wife, 3 pastors, people who knew how to smile when cameras were present and how to look away when power became cruel. Not one of them told Ronke she had gone too far. "Take the dog through the service entrance," Ronke said. "I do not want that thing crossing my front lobby." Bisi stepped forward. "Do not take him anywhere." One of the guards stopped. The other looked at Dare. Ronke laughed once. A sharp, empty sound. "Listen to her. In my own house. Ma, Koko has never attacked anybody," Bisi said. "He did not even touch you. He knocked down the glass. Because you trained him to disgrace me." "That is not true." "Then what is true?" Ronke demanded. "That your dog has suddenly become a laboratory scientist." A few guests laughed nervously. Bisi heard it. That hurt more than the slap. She looked at Dare again. He wore a bright cobalt suit and a white shirt, open at the collar because Ronke had told him the breakfast should feel relaxed. He was 36 years old, 6 feet tall, and the chief operating officer of a company that employed more than 800 people. But before his mother, he still became a boy searching for the least dangerous answer. "Bisi," he said quietly, "let us not make this worse." Her mouth opened. For a moment, she could not believe him. "Worse? You know what I mean." "No, I do not. Your dog caused panic. Mummy reacted. Everybody is watching." Bisi stared at him. "Everybody is watching." "Not, are you all right?" "Not, why did Koko react?" "Not, why did my mother strike you?" "Only everybody is watching." Ronke lifted her chin. "Tell your wife to apologize." Dare rubbed his forehead. Bisi, please, just apologize so we can calm things down. A chair creaked somewhere behind her. Bisi lowered her hand from her cheek. I will not apologize for being slapped, you see, Ronke said to the guests. This is the pride I have been managing for 3 years. A woman from a small house enters a family with one famous surname, and suddenly she forgets the road that brought her here. Bisi's breathing changed. Slow, careful. The way it did whenever she entered a laboratory and found a result she did not like. She had learned that panic made people careless. Anger made them say more than they could prove, so she looked down at the floor. The juice had spread in a golden line between the pieces of glass. Pineapple pulp clung to one shard. A fine pale residue sat inside the thick base of the tumbler, not fully dissolved. Halima saw it too. The housekeeper was on one knee with a folded kitchen cloth in her hand. She wore mustard yellow and pale aqua, the colors Ronke had selected for domestic staff during private functions, because she said ordinary white uniforms looked cheap. Their eyes met. Halima gave the smallest shake of her head. Do not speak yet. Bisi understood. She turned to the nearest guard. Where are you taking Koko? To a holding facility in Lekki, Ma, he said. Which one? He hesitated. Ronke answered for him. A place that knows what to do with dangerous animals. Bisi's stomach tightened. Give me the name. Noba Dare. Her husband looked away from his mother at last. Mummy, there is no need for that. We can call his vet. Ronke's face hardened. That dog nearly attacked me. He did not touch you, but he could have. So could any person in this room? Bisi said. We do not destroy people for what they could have done. Enough. Ronke's voice cracked through the hall. Koko barked once. The guards tightened their grip. Bisi took another step, but Dare caught her wrist. Leave it, he whispered. She looked down at his hand, then up at his face. Remove your hand from me. He released her. The guards dragged Koko away. His claws scraped over the marble. The sound followed Bisi long after the service door closed. Ronke clapped twice. Please, everyone, sit. This family matter will not ruin our important morning. People obeyed. Of course they did. Staff brought fresh glasses. A waiter replaced the stained rug beneath Bisi's chair. Somebody opened the tall windows so the smell of pineapple would leave the room. Bisi remained standing. Ronk turned to her. Will you sit down, or must we all beg you? I am leaving. With what face? Ronke asked. After causing this drama? With the same face you slapped, the room went still again. Dare whispered her name. Bisi picked up her orange handbag from the chair beside her. Ronke watched every movement. Before you go, Ronke said, I suggest you remember that the launch is in 5 hours. The company cannot afford another one of your emotional performances. Bisi stopped. There it was. The real matter. Not the dog, not the slap, the launch. 2 days earlier, at precisely 4:23 in the afternoon, Bisi had refused to release 63,411 bottles of the same pineapple and ginger drink now being served at the table. The final microbiology results had shown unacceptable contamination in samples from production line 3. The problem was not visible. The bottles looked perfect, the labels shone. The caps were sealed, but appearance was not safety. Bisi had ordered the entire batch held inside warehouse. B. Ronke had called her into the executive office and shut the door. Sign the release, she had said. I cannot. The distributors are already expecting delivery. Then we delay delivery. We lose 186 million naira. We may lose more if consumers fall ill. Ronke had stared at her from behind a wide mahogany desk. You are talking to me as if I sell groundnuts by the roadside. I am talking to you as the person responsible for product safety. No. You are talking to me as a girl who has forgotten who brought her into this family. Bisi had not signed. Now, standing in the dining hall with her cheek burning and Koko gone, she understood that Ronke had not forgiven her. Not for a second. "I will attend the launch only if the batch remains on hold," Bisi said. A distributor at the end of the table coughed into his napkin. Ronke smiled. It was worse than shouting. "You see what I mean," she said to the guests. "She wants to sabotage her husband's company because the laboratory gave one inconsistent reading." It was not one reading. "Bisi," Dare warned. She faced him. "You have seen the report. This is not the place. The products are being served in this place." Another silence. This time, nobody laughed. Ronke's fingers curled around the back of her chair. "You will go upstairs," she said. "Wash your face, control yourself, and come down when you can behave like a Balogun wife." Bisi held her gaze. "I am not a surname wearing lipstick." Then she walked out. Behind her, Halima continued cleaning the floor. She waited until every eye followed Bisi through the archway. Then she turned her body slightly, shielding the broken glass with her shoulder. With a fresh kitchen glove, she picked up the thick bottom of the tumbler. A small pocket of juice remained trapped inside the curved edge. She slipped it into a transparent food storage bag. On the label, she wrote with a black marker, 10:38 a.m., main dining hall. Glass given to Mrs. Bisi Balogun. Then she folded the bag inside her apron. When she stood, Ronke was behind her, very close. "What did you just put inside your pocket?" Halima's fingers went cold. For 14 years, she had worked inside the Balogun house. She knew Ronke's moods the way fishermen knew the lagoon. The soft voice was more dangerous than the loud one. A lifted eyebrow meant somebody would lose wages. A smile without teeth meant a punishment had already been chosen. So Halima did what frightened people sometimes had to do before courage could find them. She lied. "A sharp piece of glass, Ma. I did not want the younger girls to cut themselves." Ronke held out her hand. "Give it to me." Halima reached into the left side of her apron and brought out a thin shard she had wrapped in tissue. Ronke inspected it. Her eyes remained on Halima's face. "You are shaking." "The glass nearly entered my palm, Ma." "Hope no problem?" "No problem, Ma." Ronke dropped the shard onto the tray. "Clean everything properly. I do not want even one stain remaining." "Yes, Ma." "And Halima." "Ma?" "If anybody asks what happened here, the dog became aggressive, that is all." Halima lowered her eyes. "Yes, Ma." Ronke walked away. Only then did Halima breathe. Upstairs, Bisi entered the guest bedroom that had become hers, whenever Ronke demanded she and Dare sleep at the mansion before a company event. The room was beautiful. It had pale walls, a carved headboard, and curtains that moved gently in the air conditioning. Nothing in it belonged to her, not the paintings, not the books arranged by color, not even the slippers beside the bed. Ronke had selected everything. Bisi locked the door and called Koko's veterinary clinic. A receptionist answered. "Good morning, Bello Animal Care. My name is Bisi Balogun. I need to speak with Dr. Musa. It is urgent. He is with a patient, Ma. Please tell him Koko has been taken by 2 security officers. They may claim he attacked somebody, but he did not bite or make contact. I need him examined before anybody labels him dangerous." The receptionist became serious at once. "Do you know where they took him?" "No. Send the vehicle plate number if you have it." Bisi closed her eyes, replaying the moment. A black utility van had waited beside the service entrance. She had seen only the last 4 digits. 7314, she said. The plate ended with 7314. "We will alert the doctor." "Please." She ended the call and opened the family location application on her phone. Dare had once connected the mansion's fleet vehicles to it, after a driver went missing for 6 hours with company documents. The van appeared as a moving grey dot. Lekki Eep Expressway. Bisi took a screenshot. Then she called Dare. He rejected the call. Recalled again. A message arrived. Please calm down. I am handling Mummy. Bisi stared at it. Handling Mummy. As though the problem was Ronki's mood and not a dog being taken away because he had interrupted a drink, she typed, "Send me the name of the facility now." Dare did not answer. A knock came at the door. Madam Bisi? It was one of the female security officers. Yes? Mr. Dare asked that I accompany you downstairs when you are ready. I am not going downstairs. There was a pause. Ma, he said, there is a family discussion. Bisi opened the door. The officer looked uncomfortable. Her name tag read L. George. Did he say discussion? Bisi asked. Or did he say you should make sure I do not leave? The woman swallowed. He said I should accompany you, Ma. Bisi picked up her handbag. Then accompany me. They walked down the corridor together. But instead of turning towards the dining hall, Bisi headed for the front staircase. Ma? I am leaving. I was told. You were told to accompany me. You are doing it. At the bottom of the stairs, Dare stood with Ronke and the family's legal advisor, Mr. Victor Daniels. A slim leather folder lay on the console table. Ronke had removed her emerald head wrap. Without it, she looked smaller. More dangerous, too. Sit down, she said. Bisi remained standing. What is this? Victor cleared his throat. There has been concern about your behavior this morning. My behavior? The family would prefer to manage the matter privately. Bisi looked at Dare. Did you call a lawyer before you called the vet? Dare's jaw tightened. Do not twist this. I asked a question. Mummy believes it may be best if you take a few days away from the company. Ronke folded her hands. Not because I am angry. Because I am concerned. Bisi almost laughed. Concern. The favorite cloth of controlling people. They wrapped every cruelty inside it. Victor opened the folder. This is a voluntary leave agreement. 7 working days. Full pay. No public statement from either side. And the batch? Dare looked down. Bisi understood before anybody spoke. The batch remains under operational review, Victor said. That means Ronke will release it. Watch your tone, Ronke snapped. You tried to make me drink something. My dog stopped me. Then you slapped me, removed the dog, and called a lawyer. My tone is the smallest problem in this house. Dare stepped closer. Nobody tried to make you drink anything. Mummy served you juice. Why did Koko react? He is an animal. He is trained. To smell what? Pineapple? Ronke asked. Please do not embarrass yourself more than you have already done. Bisi turned to Victor. Has the broken glass been preserved? The lawyer blinked. Preserved? Yes. Has anybody secured the remaining liquid for testing? Ronke let out a slow breath. This is exactly what I mean, paranoia. Bisi looked at Dare again. Secure the glass. Bisi, if it is ordinary juice, testing will prove it. If it is not, cleaning the floor destroys evidence. Ronke's face changed for 1 second. It was small, a flicker around the mouth. But Bisi saw it. So did Victor. The lawyer closed the folder. Mrs. Balogun, he said carefully to Ronke, has the dining area already been cleaned? Of course. Should we leave broken glass on the floor because a dog misbehaved? Were there cameras in the dining hall? Bisi asked. Ronke gave her a flat look. You know there are. Then nobody should delete the footage. Victor raised a hand. I will issue a preservation notice. Ronke turned on him. For a family disagreement? For everybody's protection, he said. The lawyer's voice remained polite, but something had shifted. He was no longer speaking as Ronke's obedient advisor. He was protecting himself. Bisi noticed. Ronke noticed too. Dare rubbed both hands over his face. Can we all just slow down? Bisi, sign the leave agreement. We will test whatever needs testing. Koko will be examined. Nobody is trying to harm you. Then tell me where he is. Dare looked at his mother. That was his answer. Bisi picked up the pen from the table. Ronke relaxed. Bisi drew a line through the signature box. I will not sign. Then she placed the pen down. Bisi, Dare said. I am going home. To do what? Ronke asked. To remember what my own house feels like. She walked towards the door. Victor called after her. Mrs. Balagun, please send me a written request regarding the footage in the animal facility. I will acknowledge it formally. Bisi nodded once. Ronke said nothing. Outside, the sun struck hard against the white stone driveway. Bisi ordered a ride because Dare had arrived in the family car, and her own vehicle was at the company headquarters. While she waited, her phone rang. Dr. Musa. We found the van, he said. They took Koko to Shoreline Animal Holding Center. Is he alive? Yes, calm down, he is alive. Her knees weakened. She sat on the low wall beside the gate. They reported him as a dog that attempted an attack. Dr. Musa continued. I have asked them not to make any behavioral recommendation until I examine him. Can they put him down? Not simply because one person says he was aggressive. There must be an assessment. Did he bite anybody? Break skin? No charge at the woman? He moved between us and knocked the glass away. Good. Write everything now while it is fresh. Time, position. Who touched him? What commands you gave? Do not decorate the story. Facts only. Bisi nodded even though he could not see her. I will come there. Come, but do not enter shouting. The center staff are not your enemy. We need cooperation and records. I understand. And Bisi? Yes. A dog's reaction can warn us that something is wrong. It cannot tell us exactly what. Do not build a conclusion before we have evidence. I know. Good. Bring any video from the room. The ride arrived. As Bisi opened the car door, Dare came out of the mansion. Wait. She stopped but did not turn. He walked towards her, removing his suit jacket in the heat. Let me take you. No Bisi, please. You still have a launch to protect. That is not fair. She faced him then. Her cheek carried the clear shape of his mother's fingers. Fair? She asked. Your mother hit me. Your first concern was the people watching. She took my dog. You asked me to apologize. Now you want to talk about fair? Dare looked at the mark. Shame entered his face. Mummy should not have slapped you. But she did. I will speak to her. You have been speaking to her for 3 years. What do you want me to do? Fight my own mother in front of guests? I wanted you to stand beside your wife, in front of the same guests who watched her mother-in-law strike her. He had no answer. Bisi entered the car. As it pulled away, she looked back once. Dare stood in the driveway, holding his cobalt jacket. Ronke watched from the upstairs window. At Shoreline Animal Holding Center, Koko was inside a steel enclosure, large enough for him to turn around but too narrow for comfort. His ears rose when Bisi entered the assessment corridor. He did not bark. He pressed his body against the gate. My boy, she whispered. Koko whined. Bisi knelt outside the bars. I am here. Dr. Musa crouched beside her in a navy polo shirt and examination gloves. He was a broad man with gray beginning at his temples, and the patient eyes of somebody who knew animals, listened more carefully than people. He has no injury, he said. Heart rate is elevated, but that is expected. The center manager has agreed to hold any classification until tomorrow. Can I take him home? Not yet. The person who filed the report claimed he presented an immediate danger. We need to document him properly. Bisi gripped the bars. Koko pushed his nose against her fingers. Why would he react to the glass? She asked. Dr. Musa looked at her. Tell me what happened before the reaction. Ronk brought the drink herself. Does she normally serve you? No. Was the dog watching her before she approached? Bisi searched her memory. Koko had been lying near the open door. When Ronke entered from the service corridor with the tray, His head had lifted. He had sniffed the air, stood, then followed her at a distance. Yes. Had he seen her handle the drink somewhere else? I do not know. Any unusual smell? I smelled pineapple and ginger. Dogs can detect far more than we can, but let us be precise. He was not trained to detect medication. No. He may have noticed an unfamiliar odor. He may have observed secretive movement. He may have associated the glass with something that frightened him. He may even have responded to your mother-in-law's tension. We cannot say which yet. Bisi lowered her head. I should have listened sooner. To what? He has been avoiding the pantry corridor since last night. Dr. Musa's eyes sharpened. Was he inside the house last night? Yes. Halima told me he stood outside the dry store and would not leave. Ask for camera footage from that corridor. The family lawyer is sending a preservation notice. Good. Koko suddenly turned his head. A staff member was walking down the corridor carrying a stainless steel tray with 3 glass tumblers. The dog rose. His body became rigid. He did not lunge. He looked from the tray to Bisi, then moved in front of her as far as the enclosure allowed. Dr. Musa watched closely. Interesting. What does it mean? It means we document it. Nothing more yet. He asked the staff member to walk past again. Koko repeated the behavior. When the same staff member returned without the tray, Koko remained calm. Dr. Musa recorded the time. This is useful, he said, but not proof of poisoning. Do you understand? Yes, good. Evidence does not become stronger because we want it to. Bisi stayed with Koko until the afternoon. At 2:11 p.m., Dare sent a message. The launch has been postponed until tomorrow morning. Mummy says it is because of logistics. Bisi read it twice. She replied, the entire batch must remain on hold. Confirm in writing. No answer came. At 4:06 p.m., another message arrived. This one was from the company's Human Resources Director. Dear Mrs. Balagun, pending an urgent review concerning conduct, fitness for duty, and possible unauthorized medication use, you are hereby suspended from all operational functions with immediate effect. Bisi stood so quickly that the plastic chair tipped behind her. Possible unauthorized medication use. She opened her handbag. A small inside pocket was unzipped. She never left it open. Inside lay a silver blister pack containing 6 tablets. 4 spaces were empty. 2 pills remained. Bisi did not touch it. Her pulse began to hammer. Dr. Musa noticed. What happened? She showed him the open bag. That is not mine. He stepped closer but did not reach inside. Do not handle it. I have never seen it before. Photograph it where it is. Bisi raised her phone with shaking hands. The tablets sat beneath her wallet as though they had always belonged there. Then Dare called, she answered. His voice was low. Bisi, where did you get Zolpidem? Bisi closed her eyes. Who told you it was Zolpidem? Dare did not answer at once. That silence carried more information than any confession. Mummy found the same brand missing from her prescription, he said finally. Security says the packet was inside your bag. Security did not search my bag until after I left the mansion. They said they saw you carrying it. Which security officer? Bisi, stop turning every question into another question. Because somebody is building a story around me, Dare. I need names, times, and records. You sound as if the whole family is plotting against you. The suspension letter mentions medication use. It arrived less than 6 hours after the breakfast. Who told Human Resources? Mummy informed the board that you may be unfit for duty, and you allowed it. I did not allow anything. The chairperson has authority to request a review. Your mother is the chairperson. Your wife is the officer who blocked her product launch. Do you not hear the conflict? Dare sighed heavily. Just tell me the truth. Have you been taking sleeping tablets? No. Have you taken anything recently for stress? No. Then how did the packet enter your bag? Bisi looked at Koko through the enclosure. The dog was watching her. I do not know, she said. But I know what you are doing. What am I doing? You are asking me to prove innocence before asking who benefits from calling me guilty. I am trying to understand. No. You are trying to find an explanation that does not require you to confront your mother. Do not make this about Mummy again. Everything became about her the moment she handed me that glass. Dare's voice hardened. There is no evidence that anything was inside it, because she ordered the floor cleaned. Any normal person would clean broken glass. Any normal husband would ask why his wife's suspension letter already knows about drugs she says are not hers. Enough, Bisi. No, Dare. It has been enough for a long time. She ended the call. Her hand remained around the phone. She did not cry, not yet. Dr. Musa pulled the overturned chair upright and placed it behind her. Sit, he said. I am fine. You are not. Sit anyway. Bisi sat. He pointed to the open handbag. The packet must be handled as possible evidence. Call a lawyer who is not employed by your family or the company. I know one from university. Call now. Her former classmate, Grace Johnson, answered on the third ring. Grace was a commercial and employment lawyer in Ikeja, and the last person Bisi had expected to need on a Thursday afternoon. By the time Bisi finished explaining, Grace's tone had lost all friendliness. Do not remove the tablets, she said. Do not hand the bag to company security. Take continuous photographs. Ask the clinic to note that the bag has remained in your possession since you discovered the packet. We may need a statement from the doctor. Dr. Musa nodded when Bisi put the call on speaker. I can document what I observed, he said. I cannot say when or how the packet entered the bag. That is exactly the limitation I want recorded, Grace replied. Bisi, have you requested preservation of the mansion footage? Yes. The family lawyer said he would issue notice. Send your own written notice to the mansion manager, security provider, company secretary, and everybody who may control the data. Copy me. What about the batch? Do you have a copy of your original report? On the internal server and in my company email. Then assume access may be cut. It already was. Bisi tried to open the quality management portal. Her password failed. Her company email had been disabled. A cold feeling moved through her body. I cannot log in. Did you send any report outside the system before today? Grace asked. Bisi searched her memory. The previous evening, she had emailed a summary to Seyi Koko, the head of an independent laboratory they sometimes used for validation. She had not attached the complete report, because company policy restricted raw data, but she had included the sample codes and test values in the body of the message. I sent the readings to an external lab manager, she said. Good. Call him before somebody tells him not to speak to you. At 5:32 p.m. Bisi left the holding center with a signed note confirming Koko had shown no bite behavior during the assessment. She could not take him home yet, but Dr. Musa promised to return the next morning. Outside, evening traffic thickened along the expressway. Bisi ordered another ride. Then her phone rang from an unknown number. Madam Bisi, a woman whispered. Yes, it is me, Halima. Bisi moved away from the entrance. Are you all right? I do not know. Where are you? Near the old pharmacy behind the estate gate. Please, do not come with anybody. What happened? I have something from the dining room. Bisi's heart kicked. What? The bottom of your glass. Small juice still day inside. Bisi pressed the phone to her ear. Halima, do not open the bag. Do not touch the glass again. Stay where people can see you, but do not show it to anybody. Madame Ronque asked what I took. What did you tell her? That it was only sharp glass. Did she believe you? I cannot know what that woman believes. I am coming. Bisi cancelled the ride and asked Grace to meet them at a cafe near the pharmacy. 27 minutes later, Halima entered through the back door of the cafe. Rain had started. Water dotted her mustard uniform. She carried an old black handbag against her chest. Grace was already seated in a corner booth with a notebook and 2 unused evidence bags she had collected from her office. Halima stopped when she saw her. "Who is this?" "My lawyer," Bisi said. "She is here to help us preserve whatever you brought." "No police?" "No police." Halima looked towards the door. "I cannot enter trouble, Madam Bisi. My husband's treatment money is from that job. My son is still looking for work. If Madam Ronke hears that I—" Bisi touched the seat opposite her. "Sit first." Halima did not move. "Am I going to lose my job?" she asked. Bisi could not promise what she did not control, so she told the truth. "She may dismiss you if she learns you kept the glass." Halima's face crumpled. "I knew it. But we will document that any dismissal happened after you preserved evidence. Grace can advise you about your rights. I will also help with temporary accommodation if they remove you from staff housing. Help with what money? They have suspended you too." The question was not rude. It was practical. Bisi respected it. "I have personal savings, not endless money, but enough for immediate help." Halima slowly sat. Grace placed her phone on the table and asked permission to record. Halima agreed. She opened the old handbag. Inside was the labeled storage bag, wrapped in a clean dish towel. Grace did not touch it immediately. "Tell us everything from the beginning," she said. Halima stared at the bag. "Last night, around 11, I went to check the dry store because the catering people had delivered ginger concentrate. Koko was standing outside. He would not move. I opened the door and saw Madam Ronke inside." "Doing what?" Bisi asked. "She had 1 glass and 1 small white packet. When she saw me, she covered the table with her body." "What kind of packet?" Grace asked. "Medicine, like the flat silver type." "Did you see the label?" "No." "What happened next?" "She said she could not sleep and was taking her prescription." I believed her. Why would I not believe? It is her house. "Did she place anything in the glass?" "I did not see clearly. I saw her pressing something with the back of a spoon." "She told me to leave." Bisi looked at Grace. The lawyer's face remained neutral. "When did you next see the glass?" Grace asked. "This morning." Madam Ronke came from the service corridor, carrying 1 tray. Only 1 glass was on it. She told the other staff not to serve Madam Bisi because she wanted to do it herself. "Are you certain it was the same glass?" Halima hesitated. "No, I cannot swear it was the same one. It looked the same, but all the glasses match." "Good," Grace said. "Do not say more than you know." Halima nodded. "When Koko broke it," she continued, "I saw powder at the bottom. I kept the thick piece because small liquid remained there." "Who touched the glass before you placed it in the bag?" "Madame Ronke." "Madame Bisi held it for maybe 2 seconds. Koko hit it. Then only me, with a kitchen glove." "Where has it been since?" "In my apron until I changed clothes. Then inside this bag. It was with me every moment." Grace wrote down the details. "We need independent testing," she said. "A proper laboratory should receive it under documented conditions. The result will not, by itself, prove who placed anything in the glass, but it can tell us whether the liquid contains an unexpected substance." Halima gripped the edge of the table. "What if it is nothing? Then we accept that. And if it is something?" Grace looked at Bisi before answering. "Then this stops being only a family matter." They called Seyi Koko. He listened without interruption. "Do not bring it to my house," he said. "Bring it to the laboratory reception. I will have 2 staff present. We will photograph the seal, assign a sample number, and document every transfer." "Can you test it tonight?" Bisi asked. We can begin screening tonight. Confirmation may take longer. What do you need from us? Written statements, identification, the container as preserved, and patience. By 7:18 p.m., the three women stood beneath fluorescent lights at Koko Analytical Services in Ikeja. A receptionist photographed the bag from every angle. Halima signed a statement confirming how she had obtained it. Grace watched the sample receive code CAS 071943. Sei was 43, lean, clean-shaven and careful with every word. He looked through the clear bag without opening it. There is very little liquid, he said. That limits what we can do. Will it be enough? Bisi asked. For a broad screening, likely. For confirmation, we shall see. Please test for zolpidem. I will include sedative compounds in the panel, but we do not start by forcing the sample to match a theory. We test what is there. Bisi nodded. That was why she trusted him. Before they left, Sei asked Bisi to remain behind. I received your email yesterday, he said. The batch readings? Yes. Your values were concerning. They suspended me. I heard. The company secretary called this afternoon and said all external discussions should go through the chairperson's office. What did you tell them? That laboratory records do not change because management becomes uncomfortable. Bisi almost smiled. Almost. Do you still have my email? Yes. Preserve it. I already did. Outside the laboratory, Halima refused Bisi's offer to take her home. If the driver sees you, they will know, she said. Grace arranged a ride under another name. Bisi returned to the Lekki apartment she shared with Dare at 9:46 p.m. The living room lights were on. Dare sat on the sofa with his tie loosened and his phone in his hand. Her suitcase stood near the door. One suitcase, packed. Bisi looked from it to him. Who packed my clothes? He stood. I asked the housekeeper to put together enough for a few days. Why? Mummy thinks it is better if you stay somewhere else until the review is complete. Bisi looked around the apartment. The framed wedding photograph, the hand-woven rug they had bought in Abeokuta, Koko's empty sleeping mat near the balcony. This is our home, she said. The apartment belongs to the company. There it was. The sentence Ronka had trained him to use whenever love threatened authority. The car belonged to the company. The apartment belonged to the company. The salary came from the company. And the company belonged to the family. Which meant Bisi was expected to understand that nothing around her was truly hers. Not even the marriage, perhaps. Dare stepped closer. I am not throwing you out. What do you call a packed suitcase beside the door? Space. I am asking for space. For yourself or your mother. For everybody. Everybody except me. You are not listening. I have listened for 3 years. Every time she insulted my family, you said she was old-fashioned. When she removed my name from the wedding anniversary guest list, you said she was stressed. When she told staff not to call me madam because I had not given her a grandchild, you said I should ignore her. Today she slapped me, took my dog, planted. We do not know that anybody planted anything. Bisi stopped. Dare regretted the words immediately, but he had said them. So you believe the tablets are mine. I believe there are questions. And until those questions are answered, I should leave my own home. It is temporary. Your loyalty is temporary too. That is not fair. You keep saying fair as though fairness is a word you can use to avoid choosing. Dare's voice rose. What do you want from me? Should I accuse my mother of drugging you with no proof? Should I destroy my family because your dog knocked over a drink? Bisi went very still. My family, she repeated. You know what I mean. Yes, I finally do. She picked up the suitcase. Dare reached for it. Let me take you to a hotel. No, where will you go? To somebody who does not need proof before deciding I deserve a safe place to sleep. She walked past him. At the door, he said her name. Bisi looked back. He seemed broken already. But broken people could still cause harm when they refused to move. You did not need laboratory proof to stop your mother from humiliating your wife, she said. You only needed courage. Then she left. Grace gave her the spare room in her flat that night. Bisi lay awake, listening to rain strike the window. At 1:07 a.m., a message arrived from an unknown number. It contained a photograph of an internal company document. Note of emergency suspension. Employee, Bisi Balagun. Reason, visible impairment, erratic conduct and suspected misuse of sedative medication during the pre-launch breakfast. At the bottom was the creation time, 9:14 a.m. The glass had shattered at 10:38. The document described an incident that had not yet happened. Bisi sat up so quickly that the bedsheet fell to the floor. She enlarged the image. The document carried the company logo, the correct employee number and the standard footer used by human resources. The phrase, "during the pre-launch breakfast," appeared in the second paragraph. At 9:14 that morning, the breakfast had not started, Koko had not touched the glass, and Ronke had not slapped her. Yet somebody had already written the ending. Bisi called Grace. The lawyer answered with a sleep-heavy voice that sharpened as soon as Bisi explained. "Send it to me exactly as received," Grace said. "Do not crop it. Do not reply to the number. Can we trace who sent it?" "Possibly. But first, preserve it." Bisi forwarded the original message and took screenshots showing the time and sender. Grace was silent for a moment. "This changes things," she said. "It proves they planned it. It strongly suggests the suspension narrative existed before the incident. It does not yet prove who drafted it or why. We need the document metadata. How? Through a formal request, an employment complaint, or disclosure if this becomes litigation. Do not announce that we have it." Bisi walked to the window. Lagos was dark beneath the rain. Headlights moved slowly along the road like tired insects. "Grace, what if they release the batch tomorrow? Do you believe the product poses an immediate risk?" "Yes." "Then you have a professional obligation separate from this family dispute." "I know." "Contact the relevant regulator through the proper channel. Submit only what you can support. Do not mix the suspected drugging with the microbiology report unless there is a direct connection you can demonstrate." "There is a connection. Ronke wanted me removed because I blocked the launch. That is a possible motive. State it as a concern, not as established fact." Bisi breathed slowly. Facts first. Always. At 6:20 the next morning, she drafted 2 separate documents. The first was a product safety notification. She listed the batch number, sample codes, test dates, contamination readings, the date she ordered the hold, and the fact that her access had been disabled after suspension. The second was a personal incident statement. She described the breakfast, Koko's behavior, Ronke's slap, the removal of the dog, the blister pack found in her bag, and the predated suspension notice. No insults. No guesses written as truth. Only what happened. By 8:05 a.m., Grace had reviewed both. At 8:43, Bisi submitted the safety notification through the regulatory reporting portal and sent a copy to the company's audit committee. Then she called Shoreline Animal Holding Center. Dr. Musa answered. "Koko passed the first behavioral review," he said. "No aggression towards staff, no guarding of food, no bite attempt. I want to repeat the tray observation and assess his response to other objects. When can I take him?" "If the center manager signs the release this afternoon." Bisi closed her eyes in relief. "Thank you. Do not thank me yet. Thank documentation. Without records, the loudest person controls the story." At 9:17, Sei called. His voice was grave. The screening detected zolpidem in the liquid. Bisi gripped the edge of Grace's kitchen counter. Are you certain? The preliminary screening is positive. We repeated it. I am preparing confirmatory analysis. How much? The sample is too small for me to estimate an exact original dose with confidence. We can say the drug was present. We cannot safely say how many tablets entered the full glass. Could it have come from the broken glass touching something on the floor? We found the compound in the retained liquid, not only on the exterior surface. Contamination after the break is possible, in theory, but the pattern does not look like a random trace. Still, I will state the limits clearly. Bisi stared at nothing. The drink had contained a sedative. Ronke had placed it in her hand. Koko had stopped her. For one dangerous moment, anger pushed all caution aside. She imagined driving to Banana Island, walking into the mansion and pouring the report across Ronke's breakfast table. Sei seemed to hear the thought in her silence. Do not confront anybody alone, he said. I was not going to. You were thinking about it. Bisi let out a breath. Yes. Then think better. Results are strongest when handled properly. I will not release the final certificate until quality review is complete. How long? By tomorrow morning, if the instrument run is clean. Please preserve the remaining sample. It is already sealed in cold storage. After the call, Grace entered the kitchen carrying 2 cups of tea. Bisi told her. The lawyer sat down slowly. Now we proceed carefully. My mother-in-law put a sleeping drug in my drink. The drink contained the drug. The evidence of who placed it there is still being built. You sound like Sei. That is because Sei is correct. Bisi pushed the tea away. She planned to make me look impaired at the launch. The suspension notice says visible impairment before it happened. The tablets were put in my bag. She wanted people to believe I had taken them myself. That theory fits the known facts, Grace said. But a theory that fits is not yet a completed case. What more do we need? Camera footage, document metadata, witnesses, pharmacy records if lawfully obtained. Who accessed your handbag? Who ordered the security search? Who drafted the notice? Every separate piece closes another escape route. Bisi covered her face with both hands. I am tired. I know. No, Grace. I am tired of having to build a case for my own reality. Grace did not offer a comforting lie. Instead, she said, then let us build it once, properly, so nobody can take it from you again. At the mansion, Halima's trouble had already begun. Ronke summoned every member of the domestic staff to the service lounge. The room had no windows and smelled of furniture polish. She stood before them in a dark green wrapper and matching blouse. Something was removed from my dining room yesterday, she said. I will ask once. Whoever took it should speak now. Nobody moved. Ronke walked slowly along the line. You people eat my food. You sleep under my roof. Your children attend school because this family pays you. Yet one of you has decided to steal from me. Halima kept her eyes forward. The younger staff began shifting their weight. Ronke stopped in front of her. You cleaned the glass? Yes, ma. What did you do with the pieces? I disposed of them. Where? In the kitchen waste. The kitchen waste was searched. Halima's throat tightened. Maybe the cleaners carried it before. Do not lie to me. Ronke's voice was quiet. 2 security officers entered. One held a printed still image from a corridor camera. It showed Halima leaving the dining area with her hand inside her apron. Ronke lifted the page. What is inside your pocket? Halima remembered Bisi saying fear did not make her a coward, but courage was not magic. It did not remove the rent waiting at month end, or her husband's hospital bill. It did not guarantee another employer would hire a 40-year-old housekeeper blacklisted by one of Lagos's powerful families. Her fear was real. So was the truth. A piece of glass. she said. Where is it? I threw it away. Ronk slapped the paper against her palm. Search her room. The staff gasped. Halima's body reacted before her mind did. No, Ma, Ronk smiled. There, the fear had revealed the wound. Why not? My husband is resting there. He is not well. Then he can watch while security searches. Halima stepped forward. Please, Ma, there is nothing there. You have 5 minutes to collect your personal belongings. The room became silent. Ma, you are dismissed. For what offense? Ronke's eyes widened. You are asking me questions? I have worked here 14 years, and in 14 years, you have forgotten your level. A servant who starts hiding things from the hand that feeds her is already a thief. Halima's face burned. I did not steal from you. Then you will not mind leaving without your final salary until the investigation is complete. My husband's medicine, not my concern. Something changed inside Halima. Not a dramatic burst, a quiet breaking. For 14 years, she had served tea when Ronke insulted guests after they left. She had washed blood from the floor when a junior maid cut her hand, and Ronke refused to let the girl sit on the white sofa. She had hidden her own fever during a Christmas party because Ronke said sick staff made wealthy homes look disorganized. She had called all of it survival. Now Ronke was taking even that word away. Halima untied the keys from her waist and placed them on the table. I will leave, she said. But I will not accept that I am a thief, Ronke laughed. Your acceptance is not required. Halima looked at the other workers. Most lowered their eyes. One young waiter was crying silently. Do not cry for me, Halima told him. Remember what you saw. Ronke's expression sharpened. Remove her. The security officers escorted Halima to the staff quarters. Her husband, Yusuf, sat on the edge of the bed with a blanket around his shoulders. He had been receiving treatment for kidney complications and could walk only short distances without resting. What happened? He asked. We are leaving. Leaving where? Halima looked around the small room that had held 14 years of their life. I do not know yet. They packed 2 bags. A security officer stood at the door, counting every item. When Halima carried the first bag outside, the sky was painfully bright. She called Bisi. I have lost the job, she said. Bisi was silent for 1 second. Then, where are you now? At the service gate with Yusuf. Do not move. I am coming. You cannot come here, Madame Ronke will. Let her see me. 35 minutes later, Bisi arrived in Grace's car. She wore a pale blue blouse and simple cream trousers. There was no makeup on her face. The mark from the slap had darkened along her cheekbone. Ronke watched from the front balcony as Bisi helped Yusuf into the back seat. Their eyes met across the long driveway. Ronke raised her phone and began recording. Bisi did not hide. She lifted Halima's bag into the boot. Then she looked directly at the balcony. No shouting, no gesture, just a steady gaze. For the first time, Ronke looked away first. Grace arranged a serviced apartment in Yaba for Halima and Yusuf. It was small but clean, with a ground floor room so Yusuf would not climb stairs. Halima stood inside the doorway and touched the wall. How will we pay for this? I will cover the first month, Bisi said. After that, we will review. Halima shook her head. You are suspended. Your own home is not even safe. Helping you does not require me to pretend I have no limits. I can afford 1 month. I cannot promise forever. The honesty made Halima's eyes fill. Madam Bisi, I was afraid to speak. You still spoke enough to preserve the glass. I should have told you last night when I saw her crushing the tablets. You did not know what she planned. But I knew something was strange. Bisi sat beside her. Fear delays people. It does not always make them wicked. What matters is what we do when we finally understand the danger. Halima wiped her face. I will give a statement. Only if you are ready. I am not ready. Bisi waited. Halima looked towards the room where Yusuf was lying down, but I will give it. That afternoon, Koko was released. The center's assessment stated that he had shown protective positioning around Bisi and heightened concern around a tray of glass tumblers, but no unprovoked aggression. Dr. Musa recommended continued observation, controlled exposure, and no contact with Ronke while the dispute remained active. When Koko saw Bisi in the reception area, he ran to her and pressed his full weight against her legs. She knelt and buried her face in his neck. "I am sorry," she whispered. Dr. Musa stood nearby, holding the release papers. "Do not apologize to him for what another person did. I should have protected him. You are protecting him now." Koko pulled back and licked the uninjured side of her face. Dr. Musa smiled. Then he became serious again. "Has the laboratory result come?" "Preliminary positive for zolpidem." He nodded slowly. "That may explain the odor difference, but I would still avoid claiming he detected the drug itself. He may have seen the preparation. He may have learned the tray was connected to danger. We requested camera footage from the pantry corridor. Good. Let the record tell you more than imagination." At 6:15 p.m., Dare came to Grace's flat. Koko was lying near the door when the bell rang. He stood, but did not bark. Bisi looked through the peephole. Dare held a paper bag and her car keys. She opened the door but remained in the doorway. "What do you want?" "I brought your keys. The company cannot hold your personal vehicle." "Thank you." She took them. He lifted the paper bag. "I also brought Koko's food. I bought some. Can I come in?" No. Dare looked past her. Koko stared back. "I heard he was released. Yes. I am glad." Bisi waited. Dare shifted his weight. "Mummy dismissed Halima, I know. Did she come to you?" "Why?" "Because Mummy thinks Halima removed evidence from the dining room." Bisi's face remained still. "Evidence of what?" "That is what I am asking." "No. You are asking whether Halima came to me." Dare lowered his voice. "Bisi, please, I am trying to help. Then start with a clear question." He looked down the corridor before speaking. "Was there something inside the glass?" "Yes." His eyes lifted. "What?" "An independent laboratory detected zolpidem in the remaining liquid." Dare's face emptied. "No." "Yes, that cannot be." The preliminary test was repeated. Confirmation is pending. He gripped the paper bag so tightly that the top folded inward. Maybe the sample was contaminated. Possible. That is why the final report will state limitations. Maybe the tablets fell into it after the glass broke. Also possible in theory. The sample was trapped inside the base. We are investigating. Dare began pacing 2 steps one way, 2 steps back. "My mother would not drug you." Bisi felt something inside her go quiet. Not because he defended Ronke, because even now, after the result, his first instinct was not to ask whether Bisi had nearly swallowed a sedative. It was to protect the shape of his mother inside his mind. "Go home," she said. "Bisi, wait. Go and ask her why the suspension notice was created at 9:14 a.m. He stopped. "What notice?" She showed him the image on her phone. Dare read it once, then again. "The system time may be wrong. Check it." "Who sent this?" "I do not know. This could be fabricated. Check it." He stared at the creation time. Bisi spoke softly. "Do not come back with another explanation you have not verified. Come back with facts." She closed the door. Dare remained outside for almost a minute. Then his footsteps moved away. The next morning, Seye issued the confirmed report. Zolpidem was present. The concentration in the retained liquid was consistent with intentional addition, though the small and partially spilled sample prevented a reliable estimate of the amount in the original full glass. Grace sent the report to the police through a formal complaint, and to Victor Daniels with a demand that all relevant video, access records, and documents be preserved. Victor called within 11 minutes. "I need to know whether this has gone outside the family," he said. Grace replied, "A suspected drugging is not a family asset to be managed privately. I am not suggesting concealment. You represented Ronke during the attempted leave agreement. I represent the company, not her personally. Then prove it. Preserve the records." Victor exhaled. "The main dining footage exists. The pantry corridor footage appears to have been deleted yesterday at 3:07 p.m. Bisi, listening on speaker, felt her stomach sink. "By whom?" Grace asked. "The account log shows an administrator credential. Whose?" "We are checking. Do not allow any further deletion. I have suspended remote access and asked the security vendor for backups." Asked? "They say an off-site copy may exist because of a theft investigation earlier this year." Bisi leaned forward. "May exist?" Victor heard her. "Mrs. Balogun, I will know by evening." At the company headquarters, Dare entered the information technology office without informing Ronke. He asked the systems manager, Peter George, to open the document management logs. Peter hesitated. "Sir," the chairperson instructed that all access relating to Mrs. Bisi's suspension must go through her office. "I am the chief operating officer." "Yes, sir. Open the log." The suspension notice had been created at 9:14 a.m. from an executive assistant account assigned to Ronke's office. It had been edited at 10:51 a.m., 13 minutes after the glass shattered. The edits changed future tense into past tense and added the reference to sedative medication. Dare stared at the screen. "Who used the account?" Peter swallowed. "The workstation camera log may show that. Open it." At 9:12 a.m., Ronke's personal assistant had left the office carrying event files. At 9:13, Ronke entered. She remained alone until 9:26. Dare sat down. The room seemed to tilt. His mother had drafted Bisi's suspension before breakfast, before the dog, before the slap, before anybody could claim visible impairment. He called Ronke. "Where are you?" "At home." "Why?" "I am coming." "What happened?" "Do not delete anything else." Silence. Then Ronke said, "Mind how you speak to me." Dare ended the call. He arrived at the mansion at 1:20 p.m. Ronke was in the blue sitting room, reviewing arrangements for the rescheduled launch. A large printed banner leaned against the wall. Balogun Fresh Wellness Initiative. Trust in every bottle. Dare looked at it. The words made him feel sick. Ronke did not rise. "You cannot speak to me like a criminal because your wife has filled your head with nonsense." The suspension notice was written before breakfast. Ronke's expression did not change. We had already discussed placing her on leave. The document says she showed visible impairment during an event that had not happened. I anticipated trouble. You anticipated the exact type of trouble. Bisi has been unstable for weeks. Why was zolpidem inside her drink? Ronke's hand stopped over the papers. So that is what she is claiming now. An independent laboratory confirmed it. Independent, according to whom? That Koko man has always liked her. He is married. Married men can still be foolish. Dare stared at his mother. It was an old tactic. When evidence threatened her, she dirtied the person holding it. "Did you put the drug in her glass?" Ronke stood. "After everything I have done for you, you enter my house and ask me that?" "Yes." "You have become shameless." "Answer." She walked towards him slowly. "I built the company that pays for the suit on your back. I sat beside your hospital bed when you had malaria at 10. I sold my mother's land to send you to university. And because one woman cries, you stand here asking if I poisoned her. I did not ask if you poisoned her. I asked if you put zolpidem in the glass." Ronke's eyes flashed. A small dose of a prescribed sleeping aid is not poison. The room became silent. Dare's lips parted. Ronk realized what she had said. For the first time, fear entered her face. "You did it," Dare whispered. "I did not say that. You knew the amount was small. I said if there was anything. You knew." Ronke turned away. She needed to calm down. Dare felt all the air leave his body. What? She was going to destroy the launch. She has been carrying herself as if a certificate makes her wiser than everybody. I wanted her relaxed. That is all. You drugged my wife. Do not use dramatic words. You put medication in her drink without consent. She would have slept. Maybe she would have looked confused for a few minutes. Nobody would die. Dare stepped back as though she had struck him. Ronke continued, speaking faster now. The board needed to see that she was not fit to make decisions. We could remove her from quality control, release the stock, and resolve the filtration issue quietly. The company would survive. Hundreds of people would keep their jobs. You plan to make her look drugged. I plan to make people see what they already suspected. And the tablets in her bag? Ronke said nothing. Dare's face twisted. You planted them. She brought that bag into my house. That is not an answer. She forced me to protect this family. No. Dare shook his head. She told you the product might be unsafe. You chose to protect your pride, Ronke pointed at him. Do not stand there and judge me with money I created. I am not judging you with money. His voice broke. I am judging you with the truth. Ronke laughed bitterly. Truth, your wife has turned you against your mother. You turned me against myself. He left before she could answer. Outside, Dare leaned against his car and tried to breathe. For years, he had told himself his mother was difficult because life had made her strong. He had translated cruelty into sacrifice, control into love, humiliation into tradition. Now there was no harmless word left. He called Bisi. She did not answer. He sent one message. You were right about the notice. I checked the metadata. I am securing the records. He did not tell her about Ronke's half-confession. Not yet. A spoken conversation without recording could be denied. He had finally learned that truth needed structure. Dare returned to the office and called an emergency meeting with Victor Daniels, the head of audit, and 2 independent board members. He disclosed his relationship conflict and formally recused himself from any vote concerning Bisi's employment. Then he authorized a forensic copy of the document server, email archive, and security logs. Ronke arrived before the copy was complete. She entered the boardroom in a bright purple suit, anger moving ahead of her like heat. Who gave you authority to freeze my office? Dare stood, the audit committee. I am the chairperson, which is why you should not control evidence connected to a complaint against you. She looked around the table. All of you are sitting here because I built this company. One independent director, Mrs. Ruth Adebayo, removed her glasses. And the company exists because consumers trust what is inside the bottles, she said. That trust is now at risk. Ronke turned to Dare. End this madness. No. It was one word, the first clean no he had given her in years. Ronke stared at him as if he had become a stranger. Perhaps he had. By evening, the off-site camera backup had been found. The security vendor kept 30 days of duplicate footage because a senior driver had stolen electronics from the mansion in February. Ronke had approved the backup herself and then forgotten it existed. Victor called Grace at 7:42 p.m. We have recovered video from the dry store corridor and the interior camera, he said. Bisi stood beside Grace's desk, listening on speaker. What does it show? Grace asked. Victor hesitated. It shows Mrs. Ronke entering the dry store at 10:56 p.m. the night before the breakfast. She carries a glass and a silver blister pack. The interior camera shows her crushing 2 tablets with the back of a spoon and emptying the powder into the glass. Bisi held the edge of the desk. And Koko? He is outside the open door. He watches the entire time. The room became quiet. Dr. Musa had been right. Koko had not performed magic. He had remembered danger. Is Ronke's face clear? Grace asked. Yes. Is there any break in the footage? No. What happens to the glass after that? She covers it and places it on the second shelf of the cold pantry. At 10:21 the next morning, she removes it, pours pineapple and ginger juice into it, and carries it towards the dining hall. Bisi closed her eyes. A complete chain. Preparation. Storage. Delivery. Preserve the original file and its metadata, Grace said. Make 3 verified copies. 1 for law enforcement, 1 for the company's external counsel, and 1 sealed for disclosure. Already underway. Has Ronke seen it? No. Keep it that way for now. Victor lowered his voice. There is another matter. The launch has been moved to Saturday evening at the Atlantic Crest Hotel. Bisi opened her eyes. The launch is still happening? Mrs. Ronke has told distributors the safety complaint was made by a suspended employee acting out of personal resentment. She intends to present a new laboratory certificate. From where? We are tracing it. Grace leaned forward. Has the batch left Warehouse B? 4 trucks were loaded this afternoon. Audit blocked the gates before departure. Bisi exhaled. Thank God. But Ronke is telling the public the bottles being displayed at the event are cleared samples from another production run. Are they? Bisi asked. We do not know yet. Then nobody should serve them. Victor paused. Mrs. Ronke also intends to announce your permanent removal from the company. Bisi's expression did not change. What exactly is the event? Grace asked. A product launch combined with the unveiling of the Balagun Women's Wellness Fund. More than 400 guests. Press. Livestream. Ronke was not retreating. She was building a larger stage. Grace ended the call and looked at Bisi. You do not need to attend. Yes, I do. Why? Because she is using my silence as evidence against me. We can release a statement through counsel, and she will call it the revenge of an unstable daughter-in-law hiding behind lawyers. That does not mean you walk into a hostile ballroom. Bisi moved to the window. 400 people will sit there while she sells a product under the words trust and wellness. Workers will watch. Distributors will decide whether to accept the stock. She plans to erase my name in public. Grace studied her. What do you want to do? Present the evidence in order. No shouting. No surprise accusation without documents. I want the audit committee present, the regulator informed, and security controlled by the hotel, not the family. And Koko? He stays away from the stage. Grace nodded once. Good. Bisi turned. You agree? I agree that if you attend, we do it as a controlled disclosure, not a Nollywood fight inside a ballroom. Despite everything, Bisi almost laughed. Are we not already inside a Nollywood fight? Grace's mouth twitched. Then let us at least bring proper documents. The following 2 days became a battle of records. The regulator issued an interim instruction preventing distribution of the disputed batch pending independent verification. Audit sealed Warehouse B and counted every pallet. Sei retested retained production samples and confirmed that the original microbiology results were not sampling errors. The contamination traced back to a filtration unit that should have been serviced 11 days earlier. Maintenance records showed the work order had been delayed after Ronke's office rejected the shutdown cost. The evidence did not mean every bottle would make somebody ill. It meant the safety threshold had failed, and no responsible company could pretend otherwise. Bisi prepared a plain language explanation for the event. She avoided technical language where it could hide meaning. A product does not become safe because it looks clean, she wrote. A bottle can be sealed, attractive and dangerous at the same time. Testing exists because our eyes are not enough. Dare sent data without asking to see her. The workstation footage. The suspension document metadata. The gate records showing Ronke's assistant had entered Bisi's bedroom corridor at 11:06 a.m. after Bisi left the dining hall and before the blister pack was reported. The assistant, under legal advice, admitted Ronke had instructed her to place the remaining tablets in Bisi's handbag. She said Ronke told her it was part of a family intervention, and that Bisi had already been taking the medication secretly. Grace recorded the statement in the presence of independent counsel. Halima provided hers the next day. Her hands shook throughout. She described the dry store, the spoon, the covered glass, and the powder trapped inside the broken base. When she finished, she asked whether Ronke would know where she was staying. No address will be included in the public material, Grace said. We are also requesting a protective condition against contact or retaliation. Halima nodded. I am still afraid. You can be afraid and truthful at the same time, Bisi said. Halima looked at her. Will you stand beside me? Yes, even if your husband changes his mind, Bisi answered without hesitation. Yes. Dare did not change his mind. But he did something harder than making one dramatic choice. He gave up control. He signed a written declaration that he had failed to intervene during the public humiliation at breakfast. He authorized full access to operational records. He agreed not to participate in the board vote concerning Ronke or Bisi. He also acknowledged that his earlier attempts to remove Bisi from the company apartment had placed additional pressure on her during a safety complaint. When Grace showed Bisi the declaration, she read every page. He expects forgiveness, she asked. No condition is attached, Grace said. Did he ask about me? Yes. What did you say? That your well-being is not information he is entitled to receive through counsel. Bisi folded the document. Good. On Saturday afternoon, Bisi dressed in a structured orange-gold suit with an ivory blouse. She tied her hair back and wore only small gold earrings. Grace looked at her from the doorway. You look like you are going to chair the meeting. I am going to tell the truth. Sometimes that is the same thing. Koko watched from the rug. Dr. Musa had agreed to keep him in a quiet suite at the hotel with a handler until the evidence session was complete. Bisi did not want Ronke, claiming the dog had been brought to threaten her. Before leaving, Bisi knelt in front of him. You stay with Doctor, okay? Koko pressed one paw against her knee. I will come back. The Atlantic Crest ballroom was already full when Bisi arrived. 417 guests sat beneath hanging lights shaped like rain. A 20-foot screen displayed pineapples, ginger roots, and smiling families. On each table stood chilled bottles of Balagan Fresh. None had been opened. Hotel management had received a preservation and non-service notice from the regulator that morning. The bottles remained decorative. Ronke stood behind the stage curtain in a bright purple gown with cobalt beading. Her face was flawless. Her smile was ready. When an event coordinator whispered that Bisi had entered the lobby, Ronke's hand tightened around her speech cards. Remove her. Ma, hotel security says she is on the shareholder guest list. Then remove her name. The list has been locked by external counsel. Ronke turned slowly. Who is controlling this event? The coordinator did not answer. Out in the ballroom, heads turned as Bisi walked down the center aisle. Whispers moved from table to table. That is her, the unstable one. The daughter-in-law. The woman whose dog attacked Chief Ronke. Bisi heard enough to know the story had traveled. She kept walking. At the front table sat Ruth Adebayo, 2 audit directors, Victor Daniels, Seyi Koko, Grace Johnson, and a representative from the food safety regulator. Halima was in a small waiting room behind the hall. accompanied by Yusuf and a support officer. Dare stood near the side of the stage in a cobalt suit. When Bisi approached, he stepped towards her. She stopped. "I will not touch you," he said quickly. "Good. I am glad you came. I did not come for you. I know." His voice held no defense this time. That mattered. Not enough, but it mattered. Ronke began the event at 7:03 p.m. She walked onto the stage to loud applause. The screen behind her displayed old photographs of the company's first factory, then images of Ronke handing food parcels to widows and scholarships to young women. "My dear friends," she began. Balagun Fresh was born from one woman's refusal to accept limitation. Bisi sat in the front row and listened. Ronke spoke about sacrifice, family, integrity, the duty of successful women to create opportunities for others. Every sentence was polished. Every word had once belonged to something good. That was how hypocrisy worked. It did not invent a new language. It borrowed the language of virtue and used it as decoration. After 15 minutes, Ronke's tone changed. "Recently," she said, "our family and company have faced painful internal sabotage from an individual suffering serious personal difficulties." The screen behind her displayed a blurred image of a laboratory report. She attempted to delay this launch using inconsistent test results. When questioned, she behaved erratically during a private family breakfast and endangered guests through an uncontrolled animal. A murmur passed through the room. Dare lowered his head. Ronke continued. "We chose compassion. We offered medical support. Sadly, that kindness was repaid with false accusations intended to destroy a Nigerian success story." Bisi looked at Grace. Grace checked the time. Ronke lifted a folder. "Tonight, I am announcing that the employee involved has been removed from all quality functions. Her actions do not represent this family, this company, or the values we." "Before that announcement is entered into the record," Ruth Adebayo said, rising from her chair, "the audit committee requests the opportunity to present material findings." The room changed. Ronke's smile froze. "This is not a board meeting." Ruth held up a signed notice. "It became one when you chose to make an employment and product safety declaration before shareholders, distributors, and press." Ronke looked towards Dare. "Stop this." He did not move. Ruth continued. "Mrs. Bisi Balogun has the right to respond." Ronke laughed into the microphone. "So this is the plan? Humiliate me at my own event?" Bisi stood. "No, Ma," she said. "The plan is to put dates beside claims." The microphone carried her voice through the ballroom. It was not loud. It did not need to be. She walked onto the stage. Ronke stepped back as though Bisi carried a weapon. Bisi carried only a slim folder. Ronke turned to the audience. "Look at her. She comes dressed for performance." Bisi placed the folder on the lectern. "You have spoken for 19 minutes, she said. "Allow me 15. I will allow you nothing." The regulator's representative stood. "Mrs. Ronke, product safety statements made tonight are subject to review. It is in everybody's interest that the relevant records be presented accurately." Ronke's mouth tightened. She released the microphone. Bisi faced the audience. "My name is Bisi Balogun. Until 4 days ago, I was the director responsible for quality assurance at Balogun Fresh Beverages. I was suspended after refusing to release batch PGB 6314. The batch number appeared on the screen. 63,411 bottles were held because retained samples failed microbiological limits. The failure was repeated. An independent laboratory has now confirmed the original finding." Sei's certificate appeared beside her report. A distributor near the front raised his hand. "Were any bottles released to the public?" "No," Bisi said. 4 trucks were loaded, but audit stopped them at the gate." People began whispering. Ronke moved towards the microphone. Because I ordered additional verification. Bisi turned to her. The truck loading authorization carries your office code. The document appeared on screen. Ronke stopped. Bisi continued. The filtration unit serving production line 3 had missed scheduled maintenance. The shutdown request was rejected because management did not want to delay this launch. A maintenance email appeared. The ballroom became quieter. This is not about one woman winning an argument, Bisi said. It is about a system designed to prevent attractive bottles from hiding invisible risk. Ronke folded her arms. Now tell them about your drugs. The words struck the room like broken glass. Several guests gasped. Ronke pointed at Bisi. Tell them security found sleeping tablets in your handbag. Tell them your dog behaved like a beast because its owner was unstable. Bisi looked at her. I will tell them everything. Bisi clicked the remote. A document appeared on the screen. My emergency suspension notice says I displayed visible impairment and suspected sedative misuse during the pre-launch breakfast. She let the audience read it. The notice was created at 9:14 that morning. The time appeared in red. The breakfast incident occurred at 10:38. A second time appeared beneath it. Nobody moved. Ronke spoke first. The document was prepared because her behavior had already become concerning. Bisi faced her. Then why did the original version describe an incident that had not happened? Ronke lifted her chin. Administrative drafting. Nothing more. The file history shows it was edited at 10:51, 13 minutes after the glass broke. Future tense was changed into past tense. A reference to sedative medication was added. The edit log appeared. A sound moved through the ballroom. Not quite a gasp. Something lower. Recognition, Bisi continued. After I left the dining room, a blister pack of zolpidem was placed inside my handbag. Gate and corridor records show Mrs. Ronke's assistant entered the bedroom corridor during the period when the bag was unattended. Ronke pointed at Bisi. You are accusing a junior worker because she cannot defend herself. Grace stood. The assistant has provided a signed statement through independent counsel. Her identity is being protected tonight, but the statement has been delivered to investigators. Ronke's face tightened. She is lying to save her job. She no longer works for you, Grace said. Bisi raised one hand. The room settled again. At breakfast, Mrs. Ronke handed me a glass of pineapple and ginger juice. My dog, Koko, moved between us and knocked it down. I did not know why. You trained that animal to attack me, Ronke said. No bite occurred. No contact occurred. An independent veterinary assessment found no unprovoked aggression. Dr. Musa's report appeared. Ronke laughed. A dog cannot testify. You are correct, the answer surprised her. Bisi looked across the crowd. A dog's reaction is not laboratory evidence. Koko could not tell us what was inside the glass. He gave me a warning. Human beings still had to do the work. She clicked again. The sample chain of custody form appeared, followed by Sei's laboratory certificate. Halima Yusuf preserved liquid trapped in the thick base of the broken glass. She labeled the time and location. The sample was delivered under documented conditions to Koko Analytical Services. Confirmatory testing detected zolpidem. Sei rose from the front table. For clarity, he said. The sample was small and partly spilled. We cannot state the exact amount originally present in the full glass. We can confirm that zolpidem was present in the retained liquid. Our quality review found no basis to classify the result as a random trace. Ronke seized the microphone. Anybody could have contaminated it after the glass broke. The floor was full of people. Bisi nodded. That possibility had to be examined. She looked towards Victor. The lawyer gave the signal to the technician. The ballroom lights dimmed slightly. Video filled the screen. The timestamp read 10:56 p.m., the night before the breakfast. Ronki appeared in the dry store wearing a cream nightrobe. She carried a glass and a silver blister pack. The audience watched her lock the door halfway, place 2 tablets on the worktop, and crush them with the back of a spoon. The ballroom became so quiet that the hum of the air conditioning could be heard. On screen, Koko stood outside the partly open door. His ears were raised. His eyes followed every movement. Ronka poured the powder into the glass, added a small amount of water, covered it, and placed it on the cold pantry shelf. The footage advanced to the next morning. She returned at 10:21, removed the covered glass, filled it with pineapple and ginger juice, and walked towards the dining hall. The video stopped. Ronka did not look at the screen. She looked at Dare. Turn it off. He stood near the stage stairs, pale and rigid. No, he said. Her voice rose. I am your mother. And she is my wife. After everything I sacrificed for you? Dare took one step forward. This is not a debt you can collect with another person's body. Ronka's face twisted. Bisi did not smile. This was not victory yet. It was exposure. There was a difference. Ronka turned towards the audience, searching for a familiar face that would rescue her. The senator's wife looked down. One pastor closed his Bible. Distributors whispered among themselves. Then Ronka found anger. You all want to judge me? She cried. Do you know what it takes to build a company in this country? Do you know how many families depend on us? That woman was ready to throw away 186 million naira because of a correctable laboratory issue. Bisi answered calmly. A failed safety threshold is not corrected by changing the paper. Nobody had fallen sick because the batch had not reached them. It was only a delay in maintenance. A delay you concealed. Ronk pointed at the screen. And the medicine? 2 tablets she would have slept. That is all. I was trying to stop a public disaster. The admission fell from her mouth before she understood it. A wave of shock moved through the hall. Grace looked towards the recording cameras. They were still live. Ronki heard herself too late. She stepped back. Bisi's voice softened. You wanted me confused in front of the board. Ronki's breathing became heavy. You had become impossible. You wanted people to think I had taken the tablets myself. You were destroying your husband's future. You placed medicine in my drink without my knowledge. I was protecting this family. Her shout echoed across the ballroom. Bisi looked at the rows of workers seated near the back. Factory operators, drivers, cleaners, technicians. People whose wages Ronka had used as a shield. Then she faced Ronki again. You brought this family matter into a factory that feeds hundreds of families. The moment you risked other people's health to protect your pride, it stopped being private. Nobody clapped. The words did not need applause. Ruth Adebayo rose with a signed resolution. The audit committee has concluded that the chairperson's continued control creates an immediate risk to evidence, employees, and product integrity. Subject to formal ratification, Mrs. Ronki Balogun is suspended from all executive and signing authority with immediate effect. Ronki stared at her. You cannot suspend me from my own company. The company is a separate legal entity, Ruth said. It is not your sitting room. A distributor stood next. Until the regulator clears the production system, our network is placing all Balogun Fresh orders on hold. Another distributor rose. Same for us. Then a third. Ronki's shoulders dropped one fraction at a time. The regulator's representative took the microphone. Batch PGB 63 Fun 4 remains under detention. No bottle may be distributed or served. The company is required to complete corrective maintenance, independent retesting, and a documented recall readiness review. Hotel staff began removing the display bottles from the tables. One by one. Trust in every bottle disappeared from the room in plastic crates. Ronke stepped towards Bisi. Hotel security moved immediately. "Do not touch her, Ma," one officer said. Ronke looked at the officer as if he were dirt. "You know who I am?" "Yes, Ma, that is why I am asking you clearly." For years, people had obeyed Ronke because of her name. Now the same name made every action visible. Bisi turned towards the side entrance. Halima stood there. She wore a simple aqua dress and held Yusuf's hand. Her knees were trembling, but she walked towards the stage. Ronke saw her. "You," she said. Halima stopped below the first step. Ronke's voice became poisonous. "After 14 years in my house, you repay me by joining this conspiracy?" Halima looked at the woman who had controlled her wages, her room, and the shape of her fear. "For 14 years, I washed the glasses in your house," she said. "That did not make my eyes blind. It only made you forget that poor people can still see." A murmur traveled through the workers' section. Ronke's mouth opened. Nothing came out. Halima continued. "You called me thief because I preserved what you wanted destroyed. You held my salary when my husband needed medicine. I was afraid of you. I am still afraid. But fear is not the same thing as loyalty." Yusuf squeezed her hand. Bisi stepped down and stood beside her. Not in front, beside. Ronke looked from one woman to the other, the housekeeper she had dismissed, the daughter-in-law she had tried to erase. Neither was shouting. That made them harder to dismiss. Dare came onto the stage. He took the microphone but did not stand beside Bisi. He stood alone. "My name is Dara Balagan," he said. "I was present when my mother struck my wife. I did not intervene. I asked Bisi to apologize because I wanted peace in the room." He swallowed. That was not peace. It was cowardice. Ronke shook her head. "Do not do this." Dare looked at her. "I allowed your power to decide what I called reasonable. I kept asking Bisi to be patient because asking you to stop was harder. My silence protected you." He turned towards Bisi. "I am not asking for forgiveness tonight." Good, Bisi thought. Because she did not have it to give. "I am stating my responsibility," Dare continued. "I have provided all company records in my control. I have recused myself from employment decisions involving Bisi and from the vote concerning my mother. I will cooperate with the investigation." Ronke looked at him as though grief had finally reached her. "You choose her over your mother." Dare shook his head. "I am choosing not to call wrongdoing love." Security approached Ronke. Victor spoke quietly to her. "You need to leave the stage. This event carries my name. No, Ma, it carries the company's name." Ronke looked towards the ballroom. The cameras were still pointed at her. The same crowd she had gathered to witness Bisi's removal now watched her lose authority. She walked down the steps. No applause followed, no jeering either. Only silence. It was heavier than either one. After Ronke left, Dr. Musa entered through the side door with Koko on a cobalt harness. The dog saw Bisi and pulled once. Dr. Musa released the lead. Koko crossed the floor, climbed the 2 stage steps, and sat against Bisi's leg. He did not growl at the door Ronke had used. He did not chase her. He simply rested his head against Bisi. A journalist raised a hand. "Mrs. Balagan, do you believe the dog knew the drink was drugged?" Bisi stroked Koko's neck. "I believe he saw something dangerous and refused to ignore it. He warned me. But warning was not proof. People preserved the glass. A laboratory tested it. Lawyers protected records. Staff told the truth. An audit followed the data." She looked at Halima. "No one person solved this. And no animal should carry the burden of proving what human beings are responsible for investigating." The journalist nodded. Another asked, "Will you remain with the company?" Bisi looked at the sealed bottles being carried out. "Not under the old structure," she said. Product safety cannot depend on whether the person signing a report shares the owner's surname. For the first time that evening, applause began. It came from the factory workers at the back, then from the technicians, then from others. Bisi did not lift her arms. She did not smile for the cameras. She bent down and whispered to Koko, "You did well, my boy." The dog closed his eyes. The ballroom did not return to celebration. It became a workplace. Hotel staff sealed the unopened bottles. Audit officers collected event documents. Distributors requested written confirmation of the hold. Reporters waited in the lobby while Grace issued one careful statement on Bisi's behalf. No dramatic accusations beyond the evidence. No victory dance. The truth had already spoken loudly enough. Ronka left through the underground car park with 2 lawyers. By midnight, clips from her own live stream were moving across social media. The moment she admitted the tablets would only have made Bisi sleep was replayed again and again. People called it a confession. Grace called it evidence requiring proper investigation. That distinction mattered. The following Monday, the board formally suspended Ronki as chairperson and removed her authority to access company accounts, production records, or staff files. An interim governance team took control. The regulator expanded its inspection beyond production line 3. The results were ugly, but not hopeless. The filtration failure could be repaired. The management culture would take longer. Workers had learned to hide maintenance delays because speaking up brought punishment. Laboratory staff had been pressured to repeat tests until management liked the answer. Drivers had been told to sign dispatch records before trucks were fully loaded. None of these practices had begun with the drugged glass. The glass had only exposed the same disease in a form nobody could ignore. Bisi refused to return immediately. Ruth Adebayo came to Grace's flat with a written offer restoring her title, salary, and access. Bisi read it and placed it on the table. "This gives me my old job," she said. "I do not want my old job." Ruth leaned forward. "What do you want?" "A quality unit that reports directly to an independent board committee, not to family executives. Protected reporting for staff, external testing when a result is disputed, written authority to stop distribution without retaliation. That is a major restructuring. So was the failure." Ruth nodded slowly. "What else?" "No worker loses basic pay during the shutdown caused by management misconduct. The company is already under financial strain. The workers did not reject maintenance. They did not alter reports. They should not carry the first punishment." Ruth studied her. "You understand this may reduce executive bonuses and dividends?" "Yes." "Including your husband's?" "Yes." "And any future dividend you may receive as a shareholder?" Bisi held her gaze. "Yes." Ruth sat back. "I will take it to the board." "Take one more thing." Bisi slid Halima's dismissal letter across the table. Full unpaid wages. Compensation for retaliatory dismissal. Written correction of the theft allegation. Ruth looked at the letter. "That matter belongs to Employment Council. It belongs to the same culture." 3 days later, the board accepted every condition with minor legal amendments. Bisi returned only as interim director during the corrective program. She made it clear that her continued employment would be reviewed after 6 months by both sides. On her first day back, no convoy carried her to the factory. She drove her own car. Koko remained at Grace's flat with Dr. Musa's handler because an active production site was not a place for him. Bisi entered the Agbara factory at 7:11 a.m., wearing a pale blue shirt, dark trousers, and safety shoes. Workers gathered near the entrance. Some clapped. She raised one hand. "Please, no ceremony. We have work." Inside the quality laboratory, the junior analysts waited nervously. One of them, a 24-year-old woman named Tola, began crying when Bisi approached. "Ma, I am sorry," she said. "They told us not to call you. I saw them remove your name from the report, but I kept quiet." Bisi did not tell her. The silence was acceptable. It was not. She also did not crush her with shame. "Why did you keep quiet?" "My father depends on my salary. The supervisor said anybody supporting you would be dismissed." "Did you preserve your original readings?" Tola nodded. "On the instrument archive. That helped us." "Will I lose my job?" "No. But you will attend the new reporting training, and next time you must use the protected channel." Tola wiped her face. "What if the protected channel fails? Then we document that failure too." Bisi looked around the laboratory. "Courage is not pretending you have nothing to lose. It is creating systems where telling the truth does not require somebody to sacrifice everything." The filtration system was replaced over 11 days. Every section was inspected. Batch PGB 63-1 was destroyed under supervision, not quietly relabeled or sold through another market. The cost was painful. But nobody became ill from those bottles. That was the result that mattered. Dare moved out of the company apartment voluntarily. He did not ask Bisi to return. He rented a small flat in Ikoyi with his own money and began counseling twice a week. At first, he told the therapist he wanted to save his marriage. The therapist asked him a harder question. "What part of yourself made the marriage unsafe?" Dare had no answer for many sessions. He wrote letters to Bisi but did not send them. He learned that an apology could become another demand when it forced the injured person to respond. So instead, he changed what it controlled. He supported the governance reforms, even when they reduced his authority. He accepted a temporary demotion during the operational review. He disclosed old cases where Ronke had overridden staff decisions. When employees criticized him, he listened without explaining that he had been under pressure. Pressure was true. Responsibility was also true. 2 months after the event, he asked Grace whether Bisi would accept a meeting in a public place. Grace asked Bisi. Bisi said no. Dare accepted it. 1 month later, he asked again. This time, Bisi agreed to 20 minutes at a quiet cafe in Lekki. He arrived early and stood when she entered. She wore orange, not because of him, but because she liked it. Dare noticed the difference in that thought. Before, he had imagined every choice around him as a message addressed to the family. Now he was learning that other people had lives not centered on his interpretation. "Thank you for coming," he said. Bisi sat. "You have 20 minutes." He did not begin with, "I miss you." He did not say, "My mother made me." He said, "I failed you before the glass ever broke." Bisi watched him. "I kept treating each insult as a separate misunderstanding. That allowed me to ignore the pattern. I called myself neutral because I was afraid of losing my mother's approval. My neutrality gave her more power over you. Yes, I used the apartment and company structure to pressure you after the incident. Yes, I am not asking you to return." "Good," he nodded. "I only want you to know I understand more clearly now. Understanding is not repair." "I know. What are you repairing?" Dare told her about the employee compensation fund, the governance vote, and his counseling. He did not present them as gifts to her. They were obligations. When the 20 minutes ended, Bisi stood. "Will I see you again?" he asked. "I will decide later." He accepted that too. Halima's life changed more quietly. The company paid her withheld salary, 6 months' compensation, and Yusuf's outstanding hospital expenses connected to the retaliatory eviction. Ronke's lawyers wanted the settlement to include silence. Halima refused. "I will not sell my voice back to the person who tried to take it," she said. Grace negotiated a narrower confidentiality clause, protecting medical and personal details. without preventing Halima from discussing workplace abuse or giving evidence. With part of the settlement, Halima enrolled in a food service safety course. She had spent years running a rich woman's kitchen without a title. Now she learned the formal systems behind what she already understood through experience. Temperature logs, allergen controls, incident reporting, chain of custody. 7 months after her dismissal, she became kitchen safety supervisor at a vocational training center in Surulere. On her first day, a trainee dropped a tray of glasses. Everybody froze. The young woman began apologizing before the pieces stopped moving. Halima handed her a broom. "First, check if anybody is injured," she said. "Glass can be replaced. People cannot." The words surprised even her. In Ronka's house, furniture had always mattered before bodies. Halima had chosen a different order. Ronka's case moved slowly. There was no overnight trial. No judge delivered a dramatic sentence 1 week after the ballroom exposure. Investigators interviewed staff, reviewed the laboratory findings, and preserved the video. Lawyers argued about intent, dosage, and the scope of financial misconduct. Months later, Ronksi entered a civil settlement with Bisi and Halima without an admission covering every allegation. She was required to retract the statements that Bisi misused medication, pay compensation, and maintain no direct contact. The criminal investigation continued under the law's own timetable. The board removed Ronke permanently. Her final executive bonus was redirected, under a shareholder-approved resolution, into an independent product testing fund and a protected reporting program for employees. For years, she had donated money publicly while humiliating people privately. Now part of her wealth would protect the kind of workers she once expected to remain silent. It was not forgiveness, it was repair. Bisi never celebrated Ronka's fall. Some people misunderstood that. They expected revenge to look like laughter, expensive clothes, and a speech about winning. But Bisi knew harm did not disappear because the person who caused it became embarrassed. The work remained. Trust had to be rebuilt. The factory had to become safer. Halima needed stability. Koko needed calm training after the stress of confinement. And Bisi needed to decide who she was outside the Balagun family's approval. She began speaking at food safety workshops for small Nigerian manufacturers. She did not tell audiences that every family business was corrupt. She told them that love, ownership, and technical authority had to be separated by clear systems. "A surname cannot sterilize a bottle," she said during one session. "Respect for elders does not require falsifying a result. Loyalty to a company means stopping it before it harms the people who trust it." Dr. Musa sometimes joined her to explain Koko's role. He corrected the most popular version of the story whenever people claimed the dog had smelled 2 exact tablets from across a room. "No," he would say. "The dog observed behavior, detected change, and remembered context." That was remarkable enough. Do not turn a real warning into magic, because magic teaches people to wait for miracles instead of building evidence. Koko became calmer around trays after controlled training. He never liked the sound of glass breaking. Neither did Bisi. One evening, 7 months after the event, Dare asked whether she would walk with him at Tarkwa Bay. Bisi agreed. Not as a promise, as one walk. The beach was quiet. The sun lowered over the water, turning the sand gold. Koko moved ahead on his cobalt lead, stopping whenever a crab disappeared into a hole. Dare carried no flowers. Bisi appreciated that. Flowers would have tried to make the moment romantic before it became honest. They walked for several minutes without speaking. Finally, Dare said, "The therapist asked whether I forgive my mother. What did you say?" "That I do not know what forgiveness means without accountability." Bisi nodded. That is a better answer than the ones you used to give. I used to think forgiving meant returning everything to normal. Normal was the problem. Yes, they reached a small drink stall near the water. The seller opened a cooler and offered them sealed bottles of water and juice. Bisi chose pineapple juice. Dare glanced at her, then quickly looked away. He did not ask whether she was sure. He did not reach for the bottle. Bisi examined the seal, checked the label, and twisted the cap herself. Koko looked up. For 1 second, memory passed through her body. The ruby kaftan, the raised hand, the glass breaking, white powder in the base. Then she took a drink. Koko sat beside her and rested on the sand. He did not block her. He did not need to. Dare watched the sea. Can trust return? He asked. Bisi held the bottle between both hands. Not as the same thing, she said. If it returns, it becomes something new. Do you think we can build that? I think you are finally asking instead of deciding for both of us. He accepted the answer. They continued walking. No vow followed. No perfect ending arrived to erase what had happened. There was only a woman with her own keys, her own work, and her own voice. A man learning that love without courage could become another form of abandonment. A former housekeeper teaching young workers that their safety mattered. And a dog who had once refused to let danger pass as hospitality. Perhaps the most frightening thing in Bisi's story was never the medicine inside the glass. It was the number of people who saw humiliation and called their silence peace. A warning can come from anywhere. From a laboratory result. From a worker everybody ignores. From a document created 1 hour too early. Even from an animal that cannot explain what it knows. But warnings do not protect people by themselves. People must stop, check, preserve the truth, and speak. Because dignity is not a favor the powerful give when they are in a good mood. It belongs to the cleaner, the wife, the worker, the witness, and the person standing alone in a room full of important people. It belonged to Bisi before she entered the Balagan family. And it still belonged to her when she walked away.